right, let's jump right into it. New York Post Sports. My name is Jenna Lemoncelli. We are here at Cannes Lion at Sport Beach. Thanks to Stagwell, of course. I'm here with none other than Mike Buckley, athlete with SailGP, but CEO of U.S. SailGP. It's an honor to have you here with us today.
It's great to be here, and especially fitting to have beautiful ocean behind us. It doesn't get much better than this.
I feel like we're kind of in your territory.
I know.
Really.
We got it next year. I mean, the wheels are turning. It's my first year in Cannes, and we've got to have one of our F-50s out there ripping around so everybody can see what we get to do.
100%. And I'm so excited that you can join us here today because I feel like there's a lot of casual fans to your sport, but not for long because the momentum is picking up and the investors that you guys have from, I just read that it was Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds just invested in Australia.
Yeah.
We got Anne Hathaway with Italia. And then, of course, we have in the U.S., we have Lindsey Vonn. I hear DJ Khaled is the chief hype officer.
Yep.
Talk to me about how you are making this sport so relevant and bringing a real modern, younger audience to it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not easy to break through in sport, right? And last week we raced in New York City, and I felt like I lived there, and you're competing against the Yankees and the Mets and the Knicks, and during the playoffs, and to see people that weren't at our race talking about our race, that to me is an awesome sign. But yeah, I mean, when Ryan and I bought the team November 2023, we wanted to do it with a really epic group of people. And our theory is if you have a bunch of people that think alike, all in a box, you're gonna have a really average product. And so, we went out and searched for, investors that were just doing really epic things in their spaces, right? So Issa Rae, what she's doing in Hollywood and in her business, DeAndre Hopkins, Josie Altidore, who just, bought into the Buffalo Bills, and his wife Sloan, who just spoke here a few minutes ago, Griffin, who's a DJ, right? We have all these people doing just, iconic things, and that allows me to tap into their knowledge base, right, and their fan base, and the flywheel, right? You hear a lot of people talk about the flywheel. That's what we're trying to do. DJ Khaled with his "Let's Go Golfing." I started DMing him years ago saying "Let's go sailing," and now he's on our board, right? And Lindsey Vonn changed the sport of skiing, right? And similar demographic. So that's kind of how we're thinking about things.
I love that. And really quick to that note, is that kind of how this started with the relationship with DJ Khaled, just the DM?
Yeah, so I mean, it's funny. That's how we got Tommy Hilfiger as a sponsor. I started DMing Tommy the person in 2018, and then he never responded. In 2019, he walked into the Met Gala, red, white, and blue, stars and stripes with Lewis Hamilton. And I kind of chickened out. I'm like, I'm not going to get another no. And then I saw Lewis the next day at Soho House. And I'm like, it's a sign. I gotta. And so, 6 years later, they're, one of our largest partners. So Khaled, I have a relationship with Rock Nation. So that's kind of how between the DMs and Rock Nation, that's how it came together.
I love to hear that. And that's absolutely wonderful because for the younger audience, you're doing everything that you should be doing to bring in that younger audience. You're using social media, you're using celebrity, you're using other leagues and other sports to bring attention to this. In my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong because I'm nowhere near your level of expertise in all of this, it sounds like the perfect sauce to it.
Yeah, I mean, you're just constantly trying to innovate, right? I mean, you're trying to learn from these other leagues. But yeah, I think we're getting closer. We still have a long way to go at scale. But to break through the noise is no small feat. I looked at what the NBA was doing with, what athletes are showing up in, right? They don't show up in their workout clothes, right? They show up in really good looking fits, right? There's more made about what they walk in and than the game. And so that's something we took to Tommy Hilfiger, right? And that we're working on to bring fashion into our sport. How can we bring food? How can we bring music? What Griffin and Khaled are doing in their worlds. How can we bring that into SailGP so that, when we have a race here, there's a setup down the beach like this, right? And SailGP becomes the excuse to get, millions of people together around the world to have culturally relevant moments.
Absolutely. And you mentioned before that you brought SailGP to New York. I was not present, which is a big regret for myself.
Next year.
But next year I will be there. And with that being said, I saw the photos and by the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
What a breathtaking moment. Can you take me back to that event and tell me how it was to bring it to New York?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of gives me chills thinking about it here in the 104-degree heat, actually, in all seriousness, right? I mean, there's no better backdrop in the world for what we do. I live in New York, so that's it makes it extra special. But yeah, I mean, to see, all these, our boats have 100-foot tall wings. You see the branding and things like that. For our team, we did a custom livery with Tommy Hilfiger. So, see the Freedom Tower in the background and the New York City skyline and the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, it's like, it's like pinch yourself. But what I think was more important to me was, again, the fact that people that we sold out, which was awesome, but that people that didn't make it to the race were talking about it, right? And that there was real buzz. And last year, there was a little buzz last year, but a year later there was like real buzz, and you look at what the U.S. Open in New York City does, right? There's every New Yorker knows when the U.S. Open's going on. How do we get there? And how do we get the restaurants and the clubs and the, just the tourists, all on board that it's SailGP week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the thing is, too, I feel like half the battle, especially with the younger audience, is educating them on what it is, where it is.
Yeah.
Little things like that some people may think, oh, we don't need to tell them that. But how important is it to lay that groundwork? You guys are doing everything you need to do in the celebrity space, fashion, everything that you just spoke about, but how are you bringing people to get the knowledge? Just because, if you think about it, that ocean is a barrier for the fan, right?
Yeah, well, Larry Ellison and Russell Coots founded SailGP, and their whole, concept was how do they bring the absolutely epic racing that we do closer to the fan. So if we were racing here in Cannes, we'd be right here, right? Okay. People on the beach could, at certain points of the race, you could throw a rock at our boat. So all of our racing is close to shore, and we go to, right in city centers, New York City, Dubai, Abu Dhabi. We'll be in Saint-Tropez in a few weeks. And yeah, I mean, the idea is that the casual, person walking down can see what we're doing. Sailing used to be out in the ocean, out of sight, out of mind, right? And it was just, would tell you how cool it was.
Right.
Now we get to show you, but it's still hard, right? There's a big education and marketing, problem to solve, right? And that's what, the celebrities help. And, our hospitality's catered by Nobu or Thomas Keller, right? And you start to connect with the food culture. And, we have our game day experience is growing. There's, we have DJ sets and things like that, and so we try to make you gotta make the game day experience awesome, because you gotta keep up with, you go to MSG now and it's like, there's a show for 4 hours, right? And the food and the music and everything. So yeah, it's not easy, but we're an emerging league, and I think that keeps us sharp because we know we have to keep innovating.
Absolutely. And innovation, I mean, that's the name of the game for you guys. And like I said before, I feel like you guys have figured it out, and it's just a matter of patience, right? How hard, not hard, but how has it been for you to be patient in this process? Because you do so much for this, and to put everything behind it, I know you have a love for it, of course, as being an athlete, but how do you deal with that patience?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's frustrating, right? You come to an event like this, and I'm already thinking about, like, next year when we come back, here are the 20 things we'd do different, right? To be more efficient, to be more successful, more opportunities. I think, on one hand, you have to have a little bit of patience, but on the other hand, I don't have a whole lot of patience. I want it to happen now. I mean, it's all I think about, right? And 24 hours a day, other than my family, I'm thinking about how can we, move our sport forward.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's if you're not working your butt off, like, somebody else is, right? There's other leagues, there's other teams that are working hard, and they'll leave you in the dust. So yeah, I think patience is a tricky balance, and not one that I'm preaching in the office.
Right, right. It's a hard one. But we spoke so much about everything that you are doing to push this sport and this league further. But what is something that you believe that the fans can do, or how people can get more involved? What is their role? And I ask for myself as well, as a journalist and as a fan, who's going to get into this and is into this.
Yeah, I was at a sports conference a few years ago, and I was listening to a few very successful women in sports, and they were talking about how they can push different women's leagues forward, and an NFL player stood up behind me at the end and said, "Hey, how can we, the fans, how can we help?" Right, and they all at the same exact time said almost at the exact same time said the same thing: show up. And not too long after that, you started to see NBA players sitting courtside at WNBA games, right? And celebrities, and what that means for those players and what that's done, right? Just showing up, like that's so for us, like we need people to show up, and what we found is that when people do show up, they have a great time. It's not like people are coming and going, I can't believe Buckley convinced me to come over to Saint-Tropez and watch, boats rip around, at 50 or 60 miles an hour from a mega yacht. They have fun, and follow our social media. Watch the TV. Right, we have ridiculous TV numbers. Our linear TV numbers in the United States on CBS were this season so far. We have over 800,000 viewers per race. So to put that into perspective, Formula One has 1.1 million. Okay. So we're not like National Hockey League has 500,000. We're in the conversation, and that's because fans are showing up. And we certainly appreciate that, and we have to do more for the fan. You hear it a lot out here, right? It's fan engagement's everything. It is. And you actually have to do a thing for them. There has to be a exchange of value. So we're working on it.
You're right, and it is transactional. It really is. And I say this because I feel so passionate about fan engagement and the experience. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I work with a lot of sports teams and leagues specifically in fan engagement, and that's what I specialize in for them. And you're right, you guys are doing everything right, and they will show up. If you build it, they will come. And they are, and it's picking up momentum like that. And I really appreciate that, because not a lot of people say that the fan engagement is so key.
It's everything. Not one of the athletes or celebrities would be on any of these panels if they didn't have fans, right? And without fans, there's no money. Without any money and resource, you can't actually put on the events. And so, yeah, the fans are absolutely everything to any of these leagues, teams, athletes, and we're no different.
Yeah, and before we wrap up, what's on the horizon next? What are you working on? What can we look forward to? I know you guys are on tour. I was going to say on the road, but I think that would be inappropriate for the setting of the sport. But you said you're going to be in Saint-Tropez.
Yeah, so our next race is in Portsmouth, UK, the middle of July. So that's what we're gearing up for now. And then we have a pretty large tour around Europe for kind of our summer, the U.S. summer we spend in Europe competing. Saint-Tropez, Geneva, Germany, where else? Cadiz, and then we kind of end our year in the Middle East, and then we start again next year. But I think where our clothing line with Tommy Hilfiger comes out in August, so I'm really excited about that. I mean, it's like I said, I DM'd Tommy in 2018 to have a clothing line that I got to play a role in designing it's a dream come true. And we've already designed the second one that'll drop later in the year. But August is exciting times. We just brought Amazon on as a partner a few weeks ago. So fun times. But we can't be complacent. We've got to keep building.
Well, I feel like this is just the beginning, and you've put in so much hard work, which I admire so much. The fashion, you're basically a fashion designer now, social media expert in the DM. No, but what you've done is absolutely outstanding. It is not an easy feat to build a league like that and build the momentum that you see the NBA may have and the NFL and everything like that. So we are looking forward to it, and I'm excited to educate our readers and everyone else on this and how special it is.
Yeah,
so
we got to get you out to a race.
I will be there. You let me know. Time,
Saint-Tropez,
place, everything.
I feel like Saint-Tropez is kind of, with this setting, it's pretty similar, and it's just up the road.
Absolutely. I'm ready to go,
Yeah.
honestly. My first time in Cannes as well, so
Yeah,
I'm ready to
awesome.
go there. Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.